Hello guys and welcome back to DarkHorse FM, and in today's video we're going to be looking at player instructions and player preferred moves and how these two actually interact in Football Manager 2022. At the end of this video you will probably have a better understanding about how player preferred moves work, player traits, or what we normally call in the FM community PPMs. You better understand how they work and how they actually relate to player roles and how each player role probably has its own player instructions. So this is my Leeds United save. I needed to come back in here. It's been a while I've been at this save particularly because I noticed that we're currently in 4th of December 2026, and for a short while I've actually been running this save just for old time's sake. It's actually one of the first saves I started, if you follow this channel since from the beginning. But to help understand the way player prefers moves work, I prefer to use this save because I do have a lot of players in this save that have player preferred moves, and I've also added some player preferred moves to certain players, and some of my players are actually regions. I still have Karim Adeyemi here, so he's probably one of the players that I'm also going to show you how player preferred moves actually influence the way a player plays in Football Manager and how it relates to their player traits as well. So if you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so you can get notifications when new videos do come up and when I release new videos here on DarkHorse FM. So this is the current tactic that I'm using. It's a 4-2-3-1, fairly basically because it kind of fits the players that I have and it allows me to use the shadow striker. But I'm going to create a blank tactic now. I'm actually going to erase one of this tactic. I'm going to have to choose one to probably throw out now. So I'm just going to clear this slot and then create a brand new tactic from scratch because it's going to be helpful to use something we cannot relate to. So let's say 4-1-4-1. Yeah, so basically player instructions are tactical instructions given by the manager that somehow affect how players play within a certain system or a certain tactic. This is largely influenced by the roles for the players that you play, the roles that you select for your players. As you can see, my 4-2-3-1, I have a standard goalkeeper who is going to act like a standard goalkeeper normally, but if I switch him to a super keeper, that comes with its own set of instructions as to how the player or the goalkeeper is going to behave and how the goalkeeper is going to operate. So that's basically what player instructions are. Basically, changing your standard goalkeeper to a sweeper keeper on defend is adding an extra player instruction for your goalkeeper. And then if you go all the way to add support, you can see one instruction that's also been included for him to take more risks. So that's basically how player instructions do work. It works the same way for your fullbacks. If you have a fullback, you can change his instruction from a fullback to either play on defend. That gives him extra instructions. And then if you ask him to play as a wingback on support, he's going to also behave differently. So this is how player instructions do work. Once you select maybe a fullback on support duty, for example, the player instructions then kick in that says this player, as you're in this position, you're supposed to run wide with the ball and get further forward. With the way player instructions kind of behave towards certain players, you would notice that there is a bright green circle when you actually hover over a particular player. Let's use Kane Dobson. Kane Dobson is probably a region that I just signed in. He has been in my youth team for a while, and this is probably his first main season. But then we can see that Kane Dobson has a crossing ability of 8, so he's probably not the best wing back or complete wing back, but you can actually train him to get there, right? So he's a 19-year-old, so he has a lot of development to actually go for him. But if I move Kane Dobson to play as a fullback on support on the left hand side, he has the attributes to actually do that because he's assigned to play as a fullback. You can see highlighted roles, and then this basically asks you to filter the specific roles. Fullback from fullback on support duty, the attributes are now highlighted as to how well these attributes can allow this player play that particular role that you just gave him, and this role basically is the player instructions selected for him. So if I move into fullback on attack duty, he has been asked to cross more often and then get further forward, but then you notice that Kane Dobson has a crossing of 8 that can still improve. So you mean that I'm expecting him not to cross that well, even though I'm asking him to play as a fullback on support. All of that instruction are going to also kick in. That's get further forward, and then you can see that he has the attribute, the stamina 12, that can also improve. Acceleration and agility can help him get up and down the field. So that shows that he has the attributes to actually execute that role. And then we go into Kane Dobson's profile. You can see that there's an amber bright green, which means this player is actually natural at this particular position, but role wise there's a 2-star rating on his role. It means that he has a lot more to learn when you're selecting him to play in the fullback role. Take Calvin Phillips for example. Player traits are more like behavioral attributes that a player has in some cases, and this player attributes or this player behavioral attributes kind of affect how the way they play during the match. Calvin Phillips, like I mentioned, has player traits over in the bottom right corner here, player traits. He has player traits of dictates tempo, dives into tackles, tries long range passes, looks to switch the ball to wide areas. And then these are behavioral attributes that the player will have and the things that he will tend to do when he's playing during the match. So even if Calvin Phillips is best suited for a ball-winning midfielder role because he has the aggression and the attribute and the work rate to do that, his ability to try long-range passing makes him better suited to play as a deep-line playmaker. So even when you're using him as a ball-winning midfielder, he's still going to behave a lot like a deep-line playmaker and still try to create those passes from deeper areas and try to square the ball, but to square the ball to players that are in more creative areas and try to find a pass that can unlock the defense. He's also very capable of controlling the way the match transitions. That's if the team plays in a slower tempo or if the team plays in a very dynamic, fast-moving tempo. So that's what dictates tempo basically means. And then you can see the tackling, dives into tackles. Calvin Phillips has good tackling. He has good awareness and defensive anticipation as well, bravery also. So these are all attributes that actually help a player tackle a lot better and win a high number of tackles when he actually gets himself stuck into challenges. That's basically how player preferred attributes work. They kind of affect the way the player operates during the match, despite the fact that he's playing in a different role that has different instructions. Like we all know that a ball-winning midfielder on defend duty is not going to be the guy that is going to try to take the game by the scruff of the neck or try to control the game from midfield like Andre Pirlo would when he was at Juventus. But using Calvin Phillips as a ball-winning midfielder will somehow still allow Calvin Phillips, based on his player traits, his player preferred moves, he will still take control of the match even though he's playing as a ball-winning midfielder on defend duty. Another interesting player that we can look at is Karim Adeyemi. He's probably one of the most famous footballers or the most famous players in Football Manager, especially Football Manager 2022. He's currently a striker in my team as at Leeds United 2026. And then we're going to, if I can just find him. Okay, here he is, Karim Adeyemi. I found him. So let me just bring him in here. He's more of a forward really. So Karim Adeyemi, now I'm going to just take him up a notch and then have him play as a, just move. There you go. Let me just make this look quite nice. Right, not like that matters. So Karim Adeyemi, for example, he is one of the best forwards in the game, like I also mentioned, and currently he's great on using both feet. There's a way I kind of train. I know he's traditionally a left footer, but then I had him improve his right foot, and then he's also now very good with his right foot as well. So what happens is, if Karim Adeyemi, being great on both feet, if you check Karim Adeyemi's player attributes or player preferred moves, player traits, you would see that he has move into channels and then cut inside from both. Is it just going to show? Cut inside from both wings. This increases the frequency which the player is going to look to cut inside from central areas and then even if he received the ball from wide areas. So Karim Adeyemi has cut inside from both wings as a player attribute. Now, even if I play Karim Adeyemi as a winger on the right hand side, depending on my team's discipline or my tactical discipline, if I include be more expressive in this tactic and then I have Karim Adeyemi play as a winger out wide on support duty, he would still cut inside because that is what his player traits, his player behavioral attribute tells him to do. Naturally, he's going to tend to do that because he's very good at it, and he's also good on the left foot and good on the right foot as well. So it's going to be a lot harder for the opposition to mark him because he's going to move inside and he's going to move outside whenever the chance presents itself. So even if you show Karim Adeyemi to his right foot, he is going to run out wide and cross the ball. If you show him to his left foot, or if you show him to his right, he's going to try to, I think I'm making sense here, right? If you show him outside, he's going to try to go out wide and then cross the ball. If you show him inside, he's going to cut inside and try and take a chance at goal. Yeah, that makes sense. But if I actually had my team's tactical freedom on discipline, he's going to tend to stay out wide, and he needs to be a very good player that can actually cross the ball. So that's the way the player preferred moves kind of interact with your player attributes or player instructions that you actually set for your team. So using Karim Adeyemi as a winger or an inverted winger, he's more suited to play as an inverted winger, obviously, because he's traditionally a left-footed player. So using him as an inside inverted winger on support duty, is going to allow him play. Is going to play into his player attributes a lot better and allow him to cut inside, which is something he would naturally want to do, even though he's set to cut inside from both wings. He's stronger on his left foot. So using him as an inverted winger on support is going to allow him cut inside, and working with that, this actually plays to his advantage as well. Now, there are some cases where a player attribute can actually clash with a player instruction, or a player trait can actually clash with a player instruction. So leaving Karim Adeyemi on the screen, I'm going to look for a midfielder I usually have this problem with when I'm actually using him in the team. His name is Samuele Ricci. I had him, I think I signed him from an Italian club, I've forgotten, but he's actually one of my best midfield players. So Samuel Ritchie has, or Samuel Ritchie, I tried to forget how they pronounce his name. So Ritchie has player traits of run with the ball through the center, gets forward whenever possible, dictates tempo a lot like Calvin Phillips. So he's like an engine room in midfield as well. Runs with the ball often. But then you notice from his attributes that he's a very good deep line playmaker. Even the manager suggests that advanced playmaker, deep line playmaker. But then you have a problem where Samuel Ritchie is very good at running with the ball very often. So I can't use, looking at the central midfielder on defend instruction, I can't use that because you're going to get this warning that says this player's behavioral attribute for some reason stops him or hinders him from playing this role that you're asking him to play. So he's not going to be the one that's going to hold this position because he likes to get forward. He likes to run in our defense. He likes to carry the ball and move into the opposition territory. So I had a problem because I know Samuel Ritchie enjoys playing the deep line, or he has attributes that are well suited for the deep line playmaker role, but he enjoys running a lot. So that helped me come to the conclusion that even though he's not suited to play as a roaming playmaker, that's best for him. So with player instructions, this is just how you can build your players or build your tactic and ask your players to play in a certain manner. Essentially what Football Manager did was to group certain preset player instructions that are common in the modern game, and they gave that, or they called it player roles. So as I explained before, the inverted winger is basically a player that has player instructions, dribble more and cut inside. So that's the way this player is going to operate. He's going to try to cut inside and then try to dribble a bit more and pull the fullback alongside him. And he can also include and ask this guy to probably take more risk, but that's an additional player instruction added to your inverted winger. But the way the inverted winger is designed, he has been designed with two preset instructions in mind. That's to cut inside and dribble a lot more. So that's the objective of the inverted winger. He's a lot different from the inside forward per se, because the inside forward is going to be a bit more direct, and it's going to, you can see there's that added instruction of play, of get further forward. So that's different between the inside forward somewhat and the inverted winger. The inside forward is going to tend to try and get himself at goal. So he's dribbling more, he's cutting inside just like an inside forward, but then he's also being more creative. That's taking more risks, trying to unlock passing, trying to unlock the defense with risky through passes. He's also crossing less because the inside forward is going to cross a lot more, apparently, because he's a winger. I mean, the inverted winger is going to cross a lot more because he's a winger. The inside forward is going to cross less, and he's going to try to get into the box and cut inside, while the get further forward instruction is turned on for the inside forward. That's where that kind of separates him. So these player instructions essentially separate players because they are like preset instructions, and that's the way player instructions kind of differ from, that's how they kind of differ from player traits or player preferred moves, because these are set in stone instructions that make up a particular player role. So inside forward has been asked to have this certain group of instructions, and then the inverted winger, like we just saw with Karim Adeyemi, the inverted winger has just been asked to do two things, which is to dribble, to cut inside with the ball and dribble more. So with that in mind, if you would want to have a center half that was a bit more creative, it's just to have a central defender. You can see that the central defender has certain instructions as to shoot less, dribble less, and also to hold position. But then if you wanted your central defender to be a bit more creative, you can then swap him to ball playing defender on defensive. That way you can actually hold position. But then when it comes to ball playing defenders, you would notice that there are some ball playing defenders that do have carry the ball or bring the ball out of defense player traits. This kind of counterbalances the ball playing defenders hold position instruction, where we take off the defend instruction and then leave him on stopper duty or on cover duty. That allows him to now, if he's on, what did I just change? Holy crap. Back to the central defender on stopper duty. If you swap him from stopper duty to cover duty, he's also be asked to take more risks. So if the ball playing defender is on anything besides defend duty, he's going to have that freedom to actually dribble and move into the defense and move into the midfield with the ball at his feet. But once you lock the ball playing defender to defend duty, if he has a player trait of dribble more in his player preferred moves, that's to bring the ball out of defense, what essentially will happen is that if you're using a more expressive instruction in your tactics, the ball playing defender will still dribble and get into the middle of the field. But then if you lock him to disciplined, more often than not, he will not try to dribble into the box, even though he has that player preferred mood, that player trait attached to him. It's essentially the same thing for all the other positions, goalkeepers as well, midfielders, advanced playmakers, and even strikers. So it's just looking at the way my team is set up. I have a lot of regions and, let me say, players that are coming from the under 23s. So just going into my development center right now, I'm just going to pick one youth player that I think is, let's go into the under 18s, and then we'll see who looks like we can actually add a player trait for him that's to include a player preferred move. So we already remember Kane Dobson from in the earlier part of the video. So you can look at Kane Dobson, because I know that his crossing isn't great, but he has good acceleration and good balance. So in order for me to get the best out of him, I can actually include a player trait and then ask Kane Dobson to work on his ability to get further forward, because he has acceleration and he has space and he has balance, and his agility is also improving. So I'm going to find a good one of my coaches, and technically anybody really. So I just got to check this Gil, that's heel or Gil, and just go into the movement trainer, and then I ask Kane Dobson to start to try and get forward whenever possible. So this is how you can actually ask your assistant manager to train a certain player to have a new player preferred move. So if I try to get further forward because I know he has space, you can see that the assistant manager, you still have to come and battle with him as to regard whether that trait is good or not. As a manager, I can obviously choose to override what my assistant says. But here, Matt Hill is actually saying, I don't think that's such a good idea. It's a trait that suits the player with off-the-ball movement, which isn't one of Kane Dobson's very good traits. So I'm going to still suggest that, do you have any suggestions? Okay, that's me asking for my assistant for what he thinks. But then I can go ahead and say, I have much greater experience than you. I want you to go ahead with it. And then I'm going to ask him to train Kane Dobson to get further forward whenever possible. In order to somehow combat his off-the-ball movement, I can go to a personal training for Kane Dobson, and then I can include an additional focus that works on his off-the-ball movement. So you can see something like attack positioning, off-the-ball, anticipation, and decision that actually worked on when you work on this training. So I can just attach that. So even though my assistant manager thinks that Kane Dobson isn't that good with getting further forward, I'm essentially training Kane Dobson to be better at getting further forward while having better attacking movement, which is going to work on his off the ball and composure and a sense of anticipation as well. So that's obviously going to help all those attributes improve as a whole. By the way, I should just go and praise him, right? Yep, we should just do that. Let's go. So that's basically how PPMs, or player preferred moves, or player traits, kind of differ from player instructions. Player instructions are more set in stone, designed preset player instructions, like the roles that we normally select, like AP or inside forward or inverted winger. Those player instructions that accompany the certain roles that you select. So when you select a particular player role, it comes with its own set of instructions. So that's basically how player instructions do work. But then player traits are somewhat, player traits depend on the player themselves, and you can obviously include them. That's why you can now have an inverted winger that plays differently from any normal inverted winger, or you can have Karim Adeyemi that is an inverted winger by heart, but since he's good with both feet, you can ask him to play as a winger, and then he's still going to cut inside while going out wide at the same time. So essentially you have an inverted winger that is also playing as a winger at the same time. So it's kind of confusing for the AI to defend against, so which is something good and something dynamic about Football Manager and the way it works. So it's quite interesting. So that's where you can go about editing your player preferred moves and also combining them with player traits as well, player traits and player instructions, by the way. So that's basically it. So if you have any more questions about player preferred moves, if there was anything I didn't really cover in detail, you can let me know in the comment section, by the way. And any other player preferred moves that you really enjoy in this year's game, you can let me know in the comment sections as well. And thanks for sticking by with this video for this long. I'm going to come up with a lot more tactic creation videos, tactic testing videos for mid-table teams and lower league sides. And that's what we normally do here at DarkHorse FM. I just really enjoy playing Football Manager and sharing all what I learn about FM with you guys. So thanks for sticking by with this video. We're close to 500 subs, so remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button so you can get notified when new videos come up. Thanks for staying by. I catch you guys in the next video.